Coach, we got you.
You got me. Good morning.
All right, go ahead.
Cool. Ron, good morning. Just curious, you presumably have watched the game back. Just wondering what stood out to you about the offense, particularly in the first half, or what things were not working when you guys couldn't get points up.
Well, the biggest disappointment, obviously, was some of the missed opportunities. You know, we had some chances to make some plays, and unfortunately, we didn't. That's probably the thing that really was disappointing. You know, we put ourselves in position twice. Once we got into the red zone, and I chose to kick it because of it was that at the point it was a 3-score game, so that made it a 2-score game. But when you get down the red zone, you got to put it in the end zone, and we had 3 cracks at it, and we didn't do it. That was disappointing. And then the other one was, we had a couple turnovers early on, one on special teams, and then 2 interceptions just before the half, and we can't turn the ball over early on and expect to give ourselves a chance to win all the time in the second half.
And as a follow-up to that, and forgive, probably it's going to be a little bit of a long question, we asked you after the game if you thought the events of the week affected Dwayne's performance. You said we'd have to ask him. Obviously, we did. He said it was a very long week, but he thought he was able to block out the noise most of the week. Based on the performance and his reaction after the game, that seems a little hard to believe from the outside, but you saw the week we didn't. What led you and the coaching staff to believe that he was focused enough for you guys to use in such a big game?
Well, by the way he practiced, I thought he practiced well. And as far as all the outside noise was concerned, I thought on Wednesday, the way he talked to his teammates, the way they responded, and then the way he handled, I guess he met with you guys and talked as well. And then he came back in on Thursday, thought he had a good day again. So, there was nothing that led me to believe that he didn't handle it as far as that was concerned. So that's why I went with him.
Thank you.
Now that you've also had a chance to further reflect on Taylor's performance, what did you like? I know you said it was gutsy, but do you feel like he could maybe carry that over into a full game if you guys need him to?
Oh, I think so. I thought he made good decisions. I thought he showed the patience you need to. I thought his rhythm in the passing game after his first throw, which was wide right, the rest of them seemed to be where they needed to be. It looked like he was going through his progressions very nice, very quickly, so his timing was good. And then he pulled it down around a couple times. And, I thought there was a lot of positives to it. And do I think he could handle? Absolutely. I think he, just showed what I was hoping to see when he got his opportunity was that, it wasn't too big.
And now that you've had 2 games without Alex in the lineup, where do you think you've missed his presence most?
Just the consistency of his play, getting the ball out on time, protecting the football. I mean, if you go back and look at his interceptions that he had, most of them, they all came at the beginning of the year. Beginning of his opportunity, and they were when he was trying to bring us back against the Giants, I believe. And so when you look at the way he's played, how consistent he's been really good. And I think it shows when he distributes the ball the way he does as well. So it's one of those things that we've got to be able to get that from the quarterback position, and that is protect the football and be consistent.
Hey, Ron, following up on that a little bit with Alex, is there something with him? I mean, it feels like he is the difference in the winning and the losing, at least looking at the records when he was playing. I don't know if you see it that simplistically, but
I do. I think less because, again, it's about controlling the game, managing the tempo, protecting the football. And if you go and look at the games that we've won, all of them, actually, if you do that, you'll notice that, our turnover ratio obviously is better. And we've protected the ball, and the ball has been consistently spread, which I think is one of the important things that you've got to have, is that ball has to be shared to all the different receivers, to the running backs, because when those guys are touching the ball, different guys are touching the ball, I think it helps the offense. It helps the pace of the offense.
When you go into a game like you will on Sunday, a win and make it or a lose and you don't, do you make decisions differently with things like who will be the quarterback if you need to, will different factors go into it because of the gravity?
No. What will go into it is what I believe gives us the best opportunity to win. I I mean, that's why I make the decisions I make, because I think they're going to help our football team. I don't make decisions thinking, oh, well, you know, this is the long shot thing, or we're looking for this special thing. It's just whatever it takes to win. That's what I'm going to decide. And if I'm wrong, at the end of the day, I'm wrong, and I'll take their responsibility. I mean, you know, I thought based on what I saw from Dwayne during the week and what I saw at the second half of last week's game, you know, the one against Seattle, I thought that we would be able to carry that over into this game. And unfortunately, I didn't see that. You know, I made the change after the first series he got in the third quarter, because we got down to the red zone. I don't want to call it a fluke play, but we got down into the red zone on a play. He found Cam wide open, but unfortunately we couldn't punch it in. And at that point, that was concerning to me, because you know, you get to the red zone, you have to score touchdowns. You do, because you know, analytically speaking, you only get down to the red zone about 3 times a game, and when you're in that red zone, you have to put touchdowns up there. I chose the field goal because I was concerned that we needed to make this a 2-score game, and that's why I did. That was why I made my decision.
Good. Thanks, Ron.
Hey, Ron, I know that you're not going to talk to the trainers for about another hour or so, but with Alex Smith, knowing what you knew, how he progressed last week and how maybe it was over the weekend, how optimistic are you, or what's your level of optimism that he will have a much better chance of going this Sunday?
Because of time. You know, listening to Dr. West talk about it, you know, this was obviously going to take a little time. And the more time he had off of it, the better off the chances are. He was very close last week. He had I thought he had an exceptional day on Friday. But unfortunately, I tell you guys, it's always about how that person feels after a heavy load day. And the next day, he just felt like it was still grabbing him a little bit. So because of that, you know, we thought we'd check in one more time, and we did. And he just didn't feel it, or he did feel it, just didn't figure it wasn't gonna bother him, which he was concerned about.
And
so,
then
into this week, I think the opportunity, or I'm optimistic about the opportunity.
And then going back to like what he adds out there, and again, you can look at the stats and see that, but what are some of the other little things that you see, even within, whether what you hear from guys in the huddle or on the sidelines, just with his presence, that in a game of this kind of magnitude can be maybe the difference?
Well, I think the clarity in which he speaks to the guys, the way he puts his little emphasis on specific things when he's calling the play, and the confidence and swagger he has as a veteran guy. You know, he tells the guys, you know, hey, you know, he'll call the play and he'll tell them, hey, look, hey, you got this, and if you see that, hey, run this. He'll give guys a little something to help them, and I think that really helps those guys as well.
Thank you.
Hey, Ron, you've had a night to sleep on all of this. If Alex Smith can't go on Sunday, would you go back to Dwayne as the starter, or would you give Taylor kind of the keys to go ahead with it?
I'd give it to Taylor. Going into this game, Alex will be our starter, and Taylor will be our first backup.
Why is that?
Well, I get a little more confidence in what I saw from Taylor, in the way he controlled the tempo of the game, the decisions he made, getting us down there twice, giving us opportunities to score twice, scoring one time. I thought we scored twice. I'm not a fan of the penalty that was called on Wes Schweitzer. I really, truly am, based on what I've seen. You know, I saw a lot worse on the other side that didn't get flags, but, you know, that's sour grapes right now, but that's just how I feel about it.
And then another quick follow-up. The psyche of this team, a deflating loss, obviously. You had everything in front of you to beat Carolina, and now you kind of move forward, one game for all the marbles. What's the approach in kind of the psyche of this team, where you come off a deflating loss and now the pressure, again, is directly on their shoulders? If you win, you make the playoffs. You lose, the season's over.
Well, first of all, it's only a deflating loss if you make it that way, okay? Secondly, okay, going forward, Everybody's in the same situation. It all depends on what we do. We control it. And the biggest thing is we got to want to do it. We don't have to do it. We got to want to do it. That's the truth. Take the pressure off ourselves and just go and have fun. That's the truth of the matter. Nobody expected us to be in this position. You guys didn't expect us to be in position. Really, the only guy that did was me. Okay, and I believe that. So I'm going to tell this. I'm going to tell it to the players. That's the truth as far as I'm concerned. It might be from my version, but that's I get the players to believe that we control our own destiny. It's in our hands, all the cliches, but we're going to have fun with it. Hell with it.
Thanks, Ron.
All right.
Ron, I just want to say that I had you guys at 7-9 actually, but I got laughed out the room for that prediction. So I just want to say I didn't say playoffs, but I said 7-9. But back in week two, you said after the Cardinals game that your team played a two-front war essentially. They beat themselves and the other team, basically they helped the other team. That was in week 2, and now it's week 17. I guess how frustrating is it that that's been kind of a consistent theme with this team, kind of spotting teams these big leads, not really getting started until the second half. It's something that you've talked about consistently throughout the year.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, Reed, more than anything else, is exactly that. And I said that last night, too. I said, it's tough enough trying to beat one team, let alone trying to beat two, ourselves and whoever we're playing. And that's the thing that's really disappointing, because when I pointed it out to the guys, you think about it. We fumble a punt, okay? We allow a long run, okay? We turn the ball over. We blow a coverage, okay? That's 20 points right there. That's the disappointment. It's not like – they sustained these long drives and shoved it down our throat without us helping them. Okay, it's one thing to take the ball like we did twice with Taylor and take it all the way down to the red zone. If you're thinking that they don't call the penalty, the last 2 scoring drives we could have potentially had would have been 92 and 93 yards, I think, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. Those were the last 2 that we had with Taylor. That, to me, was as impressive as it gets. That's what you get concerned about, is when that happens consistently to you. Then you start to worry about what you're doing on defense. But when they pop a big play here or you blow a coverage and you sit there and go, what are we doing? That really bothers me. I think it bothers our coaches, and I know it bothers our players, because when you point it out to them, hey, this is what we're doing, this is what we're allowing, it's on us more than it is on anything else. So that's the thing that I think has to be stressed to our players, is that, and again, as I said, I brought it up yesterday, and Ree, you're right. We can't beat 2 teams at once. We can't beat ourselves, and we can't beat the teams that we're trying to play.
And we've asked a lot about how Alex Smith's absence has affected the team, but I'm curious, how did Terry McLaurin's absence yesterday in the game affect the offense? I know sometimes he distracts other defenders and it opens things up for other guys, but just when you look at the tape, how would things have possibly been different if he had been out there on the field?
Well, one thing I noticed was the way they packed their coverage in. They condensed it. They jumped the routes underneath. Nobody was truly honoring the verticals, which really is tough when you're trying to run the ball consistently, which we did in the first half. The hard part is, we wanted to run a little bit more in the second half, but we only had 1 series in the third quarter. And then lo and behold, we're fighting for our lives in the fourth quarter, and we only had 3 series there. So that was tough. But when you have Terry out there with his speed, with his ability to get vertical very quickly, you have to honor it. You can't add safeties into the run game consistently. You can't drop these guys in to play the underneath coverage consistently, knowing that there's always that vertical threat. And that's what you miss when you don't have a Terry McLaurin out there.
Thank you, Ron. Appreciate you.
All righty, Reed.
Hey, Ron, I don't think we saw Terry down near the bench area yesterday at all, and I kind of wonder, where do things stand with him, and are you concerned that he could miss more time?
Well, the biggest reason is you don't want him on his feet with this high ankle sprain. You want him off his feet. So the best place we could have him was up in the box where it's a little bit warmer. He can rest that leg and stay off of it. And that's probably the smartest thing that we could have done with him as far as that was concerned. We have him in a walking boot just to take a little bit of pressure off that ankle. We're doing everything we can to create the opportunity for him to play this week. I know Ryan Vermillion and his staff have really been working with him, and Terry's been great. He's been real diligent with his treatment. I saw him Saturday. I saw him Sunday getting treatment, just trying to do whatever he can to get that thing healthy. because this is a big week for us.
And what does that I know it'll probably be day to day, but what does that plan kind of look like to try to give him that best chance to play?
Well, first of all, and hopefully we can practice outside as much as possible. You don't want guys with ankles, knees, and hips having to practice on the turf. Even though it's great, it's warm inside, the traction is great. That's tough on the ankles, knees, and hips. So if we can go outside, we'll get a chance to see him kind of, jog through some things, and maybe pick up the tempo on Thursday and then pick up the tempo on Friday. So again, the more we can be out on our grass fields, the better it will be for his rehab, as it was Kevin Pierre-Louis, who had a high ankle sprain as well. And the same thing for Alex. The grass is obviously better. The more time we can spend on that trying to rehab players, the better it will be.
Thank you, Ron.
You're welcome.
Hey, Ron, on Terry, was that an accumulation type thing, or did he aggravate the ankle?
No, he that happened in the Seattle game. Terry had to go down to try and make a catch, which he did. Unfortunately, I think that the toe of his foot got stuck and he twisted it, and that's where it happened. It was a hell of a catch, but it's unfortunate it happened. That's the tough part of it.
Yeah. And then you've kind of talked for a while now about relevancy and what it would mean for the group to have that. I guess just with this game being flexed to Sunday night, you're technically the last game in the regular season. How does that factor into trying to be relevant and playing in such a large audience?
That's exactly it. We're on the stage now, and the one thing I will say, the other two games that we've been on the stage, the Pittsburgh game and the Dallas game, our guys came out and played well and had fun, and that's the biggest thing. We got to get back to having a little bit of fun, because the truth of the matter is we're playing with house money, and that's the best part about it. Nobody expected us to be here, although Reed did have us at 7-9. I just feel that it's great. These guys deserve it after the year we've been through. The last few years, I think our guys appreciate that.
I had 6 and 10, so sorry about that.
Okay. I hope there's not a pull. I hope there's not a pull there.
Do we just all give our pre-predictions right now?
Let the record show Rhiannon said 7-9 on the beat.
Atta girl.
Good morning, Ron. So if it's Heinicke, would you trust Montez in the backup role, or would this be, as you mentioned the other week, something that might be a little too big for him given his experience?
Well, that's always going to be the concern with him because we never got a chance to watch him. I mean, other than his college tape, which is actually pretty good, he's he's raw, and that was one of the things that I was hesitant about with him because we didn't see him in any preseason games. I would have loved to have seen him in the preseason game because he's done some good things in practice, but it's you worry about it. Part of the worry too came from watching him during warmups. At one point, even though we didn't have fans in the stand, you kind of see he had a little bit of awe on his face. So it'll be interesting to see how this week goes with him, though.
Sure. And then Antonio Gibson, you guys, made good use of him in his return. How did he hold up, and what did you think of his game?
Well, I thought it was excellent. It's interesting. He still wasn't completely there in terms of being 100%, but what we got from him was pretty doggone good. I think he had about 60 yards rushing, and it was only 10 carries. He averaged 6 yards, I think it was. There was a play he caught a swing pass, and he had to spin. And I was wondering if the reason he spun was because he really couldn't take that toe and just jam it in the ground and go. But he came at it pretty good. I actually saw him coming in today, and he looked like he didn't have much of a limp to that walk. So I'm pretty optimistic that he didn't do anything extra to that toe. And plus, he's got a couple days before we practice on Wednesday.
Appreciate it.
Hey, Ron, is there anything, I guess, in your career, be it player or coach, the winning in that you can kind of reflect on, or anything that pops into your head, and maybe even on the other side of it, for Philly, the chance to play spoiler, if you had that experience in your career, and how much that means to that certain team?
Well, it's interesting because now putting us on the national stage, I think, makes it even more interesting. It'll hype, I think, the players up on both sides a little bit more than it would have been if it would have been a normal 1 o'clock kickoff. But I will say this: I think Philly's playing, obviously for the love of the game. for pride, but also to see what they have as far as their football team's concerned. I mean, they got a good young quarterback right now that's been kind of lightening it up. They're getting some guys back healthy, and if you can play the spoiler role, it's pretty cool, as far as my career goes, as a player, going back thinking about it, I think we might have had some opportunities to play the spoiler, but for the most part, we were usually the ones getting spoiled because of the success we had, back in Chicago way back in the day. But as a coach, it's one of the things that you always try to point to. It gives you a reason to continue to play too. You try to get that across to your players, because the one thing a lot of people always point to is, the other teams, they can't wait to get out. They got their cars running in the parking lot, that type of thing. But I don't think that's true, I don't know if you guys saw it, but I saw J.J. Watt's press conference, which I thought was outstanding. I thought that was pretty good. I really did. And, before I forget, Heather, happy birthday, I believe it is.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Coach.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Got time for 3 more.
Shout out.
Hi, Ron. Not sure the best way to ask this, but where do you go from here with Dwayne?
This is about learning experiences, life experiences, and I think, a lot of the things that he's gone through, and not just this year, but last year as well, kind of being put to the side and kind of being brought along, and then getting his opportunity at the end of the year, sometimes you have to go through some hard knocks. Sometimes you have to reach rock bottom before you can dig your way back out of it. Sometimes, a change helps. But with Dwayne, it's what have you learned? What are you going to take from these experiences that are going to help you grow and get better? That's the big thing with him, and that's the thing I think that hopefully he learns from these experiences. Because. Hopefully they'll make him stronger and they'll help him. And when he gets the next opportunity, he makes the best of it.
Do you think he still has a chance to kind of turn things around here?
Well, like I've always said, you watch his talent and you see the arm, and that's the thing I think that's his most redeeming quality as a quarterback, which is probably a very important thing.
Thanks.
Good morning, Ron. I know the home and road thing is not that big of a deal this year. Do you think maybe in some ways, I guess you guys are 1-point dogs, early on this week against Philadelphia, but being on the road, being in prime time might just loosen up the guys a little bit, an us against the world type mentality? Or do you think that's not really that big of a deal for this stage?
Well, the one thing I will say about, the point spreads, that to me is just, that's fodder. That's for another group of people to pay attention to. As far as players go and teams go, you got to line up against your opponent. You got to see what happens. That's why you show up on Sunday and play. So that's the other thing. But to me, I like you said, there is no home field advantage this year. That's the best part about it. It's about showing up and playing now. And whether you go down to Philadelphia and play it, or you played it here at FedEx Field, or you play it on the practice field, it's not going to, the crowd really isn't going to matter. What's going to matter is how you play. So that'll be our approach more than anything else.
Thank you.
Last one. All right. I guess that's it. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.